Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Raw Men. And today I'm interviewing Christine Vigeant and Sarah Paquette, working in partnership with the Richard Dawkins Foundation to develop what they call the Atheos App. And how was this app described? It was supposed to be the most comprehensive logic and critical thinking tool ever devised, something along those lines.
Yeah, that's
I
pretty.
don't know anything about it. Could you explain what you mean?
Well, what we mean by that is that this app covers a vast variety of topics regarding faith-based beliefs, religion, gods, the supernatural, pseudoscience, and it's basically a tool that helps users have productive conversations about these topics with other people.
How? So this is something that you put on your phone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does this? How does this work? I mean, you said that it has a long list of different faith-based beliefs or so forth. I'm having trouble visualizing this. Help me out.
So basically, the app has 10 levels, and within each level, there are sub-quizzes that cover these topics. There will be quizzes on morality as a positive way of justifying faith. There will be logical fallacies. There will be situations with Mormons at the door, acupuncture, just anything with faith-based belief is in the app. So it's pretty comprehensive. It's not just religion. It does have creationism and evolution in there, but it's not just religion. It's any sort of potentially faulty faith-based belief.
Well, I like the fact that you have an app on your phone for dealing with Mormons at the door. That's amusing to me. So is this going to be similar then in any respect to, there used to be back in the days of Usenet, there was like Talk.Origins where I started out, and they used to have this long list of creationist claims, a huge compendium of creationist claims with all these different sub categories and so forth that you click on. How does yours work?
So ours is basically set up like a game. We have these 10 levels. It starts with in the first level, the first cave, we call it. And in each of these levels, there are sub-levels that talk about these different topics. So basically, the user will go in there and start a quiz, and the quiz will give them a prompt of something that a believer would say. Oftentimes, there are very common things that are said by believers, and there are also some very obscure things in there. And so the user will go through, and after they're shown the prompt, they will see on the hardest level 4 possible responses to these prompts made by believers. And the user then has to choose the prompt that is most appropriate, the response that is most appropriate, to basically facilitate a productive discussion with the believer.
Does this only focus on religious beliefs? I mean, does it also cover different types of woo or just logic itself?
It covers all sorts of faith-made belief systems like acupuncture, faith healing. There's karma, just pseudoscientific beliefs in general.
Yeah, karma was one I hated to get rid of. I wanted to hold on to that one because I wanted there to be some kind of justice in the universe, but yeah, even that. Yeah, because I mean, I would see it was never something that related directly to me. It was what I would see happening in other people, and I would see people that are that are good and kind and just being crapped on by the universe, and then I would see people that have no justification at all, just accidentally coming into their third inheritance of $100,000 or whatever, and skating through life. It doesn't matter what they do to people, and it was very disturbing to see that there is no kind of justice.
Right.
At all. I mean, in some respect, if you put out, a good, I don't want to say vibe, but I can't think of anything else to say. If you're positive and you're helpful and you're kind and all like this, generally you're going to get that kind of thing back. But there's no guarantees, and that was sad for me to let go. So, in using your phone app, you said it's set up like a game.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so this is not something that you would use like in conversation with people.
No.
It
was a little awkward to pull out an app.
Hold on, let me get my phone to tell me what to say to your claim.
It's basically something that you would use while you're waiting at the bus stop, while you're on a train, while you're on a plane, while you're
waiting in line at Starbucks.
Exactly.
Speaking of on the plane, this doesn't require a internet connection. You can do this like on airplane mode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good because I spend an awful lot of time on planes and I'm frustrated that I can't even, I try to pull up articles to read.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, they disappear once you go in an airplane mode and I
The
can't.
only hindrance that it would have in airplane mode is there are YouTube videos that you can watch embedded in a lot of the quizzes. So you probably wouldn't be able to access those, but there are contributor articles you can read. There are, that doesn't actually hinder the
use of the
working.
quizzes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, give me, if you can you give me like a specific or a favorite example of how to use this, of what's there, like a typical reply.
A typical reply to any of the questions is going to prompt the user on how they came to that knowledge. So a typical response is, how do you know that? What led you to this conclusion? So there are a lot of probing questions that are the responses, and they're considered ideal responses because they help the person you're having the conversation with assess on their own how they came to this faith-based conclusion. And we feel that if you help someone assess how they've come to their knowledge, it helps creates better spaces of openness than whereas you just give them the facts like, oh, you're wrong, that's silly, Jesus didn't walk on water, there's no way.
Well, that's your response is my favorite question. How do you know that? That's
right.
I mean, I ask that of believers all the time, and the answer that I get is, I know because I know.
Exactly. And so that's what Atheos is designed to do. It's designed to teach the user how to come up with better responses to that, and to bring the focus back to how the interlocutor, the person you're having the conversation with, arrived at that belief, rather than coming up with, opposing evidence, or, just acting frustrated, or, calling people names. You really just want them to focus on, how do you know what you know? How do you justify this knowledge? And that probing will then create these spaces of openness and get people to maybe reflect on their beliefs and see that the process they've used to come to this knowledge is unreliable.
Well, if go ahead, please.
Oh, I was just going to say, a lot of the times you will get a response like what you said, where it's like, I know it in my heart, I feel it in my heart, but then you'll respond with something like, but don't people who hold a contrary belief perhaps feel it in their heart as well?
Yeah. So if this will probably help me better understand this if I find out how you guys became involved in this. What is your background story?
Well, I was one of Dr. Bogosian's students, and he had talked about the app in class, and he talked about working on it, and eventually I wanted to become involved too. So I started out as a beta tester, basically, and then moved to alpha testing and started using the app myself. And as I progressed, I eventually became the public relations manager for Atheos. So I'm in charge now of basically running the social media platforms, marketing, that kind of stuff. And to me, I just really like the approach, the friendly, non-confrontational approach, because I've had conversations with believers that just went nowhere. And, Peter Bogosian always says in classes that, and in his public appearances, that there are better ways to engage people. And so I wanted to know what those ways were. And yeah, it's been great for me personally, because I get to use the app in my own life, but I also get to see the behind the scenes and how this whole thing came to be. And it's taken 2 years, and it has about contributions from 50 notable atheists and free thinkers. So it's really great to be a part of that network.
And nobody asked me. Oh well. Sarah, what's your background? How did you get in this?
I took a bunch of Dr. Bogosian's classes, and in one of his classes, he ended up approaching me. He had been asking if people wanted to become involved on the app. And so he approached me after class and asked if I would become involved in it. At first, I just did beta testing and alpha testing, and then he moved me to post-release management. So.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know, we're of course talking about Peter Bogosian, who is a philosophy professor, but also teaches classes on atheism. Which
Mhm.
I don't know of many classes that actually teach atheism. You said you took a bunch of his classes. What else does he teach?
He teaches atheism, science and pseudoscience, critical thinking. He has a introductory class for sophomores about knowledge and reason. KVR.
KVR. He also does business ethics,
Environmental
philosophy
ethics.
of education. Yeah.
He had a seminar, New Atheism, but unfortunately, I don't think that it's coming back next year simply because the attendance wasn't high enough, which is pretty sad. Pretty sad. It's a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I would be terribly interested in. But as a matter of fact, one of my dear old friends from decades ago happened to end up living in Portland, Oregon, and so I recommended that she seek out Peter Boghossian and take his class. And she's thanked me profusely for a life-changing situation when she met him and actually did take his classes. She's very much a friend and fan of his now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy to swing somebody over there. All right. So in anything else that I need to know about this app and why it was developed? What was the vision of how this was going to be used? I mean, like, is this going to be for converting believers by chance?
We hesitate to mention anything about conversion. Our goal is just to try to facilitate conversations that don't end up shouting matches. The goal is to have a productive conversation in which we prevent the conversation from becoming dogmatic and uncivil. The end goal would be to have people reflect on how they come to know what they know.
So I think if you wanted to maintain a civil conversation, a reasonable two-way conversation, where it doesn't get dogmatic and so forth, the best option that you have on that app is the fact that it can be in airplane mode so that you're not on the internet. Because once you're on the internet, all civility is lost.
That's true. I mean, there are sections on the app. So basically, you can comment within the app. You can share content from the app. And you can share it on Twitter, you can share it on Facebook. And so we have given users the opportunity to engage with the app and with each other in the app. This will be moderated, of course, so that there's no spam.
Okay, now that's an aspect that I didn't consider. You're communicating with each other through the app?
Yes, you can. You can comment on the different prompts, the different quiz questions. You can share items on social media. You can share some of the essays on social media. There's a lot of great little essays written by free thinkers and atheists in the app that you can share. There's links to resources in every level. So we have a list of websites, podcasts, articles, books that are all linked to within the app.
Do you have any videos showing screenshots and uses of the application that maybe I could include a link to this video?
There is one on the Atheos website.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can at least include the link to the Atheos website, and so people there can see if they go to the website, what advantage do they have going there? Besides seeing the educational, or not the educational, the demonstrative, the video showing how to use it. What else would they find?
List of contributors. They would find
links to download the app. Right now, those links are only available for New Zealand and Australia. But soon the app will be out in the United States too. So this would be a way for people to access the Google Play Store and the iTunes Store to get the app. And then we also do we have a section for feedback on the website?
On the app itself, there is a section for feedback, and it'll go straight to us at the app team.
I have a question about how it's released in New Zealand and Australia, but not elsewhere. Why is that? We
wanted to roll it out slowly because we think that the market in the US is going to be the biggest. So we started in New Zealand and Australia because Peter did a tour down there last year. And it was kind of a way for us to get a soft launch and work on any bugs that might be present. And then we're going to expand into the larger markets. And we're very close at this point.
Okay. So the application is not just for people who are naturally skeptics. I mean, would believers ever obtain this?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that believers could look at themselves if they want to, maybe think about their beliefs, if they want to challenge them, if they're just curious what responses there might be to some of the things that they believe. I mean, I think anybody could benefit from this app, even if they're believers.
Okay. So is there a way that you can think of to market to believers? Or to, let's say, somebody that maybe is not a religious believer, but is somebody who subscribes vehemently to their homeopathy and their spiritual healing and all of that sort of thing?
Right. We try to not only market to non-believers or free thinkers or skeptics. It's basically, we want to reach everyone. Right now, we're still very focused on those communities of non-believers, but we will definitely branch out. We actually are about to approach the heads of departments in New Zealand and Australian colleges, theology and philosophy departments. So to see how to maybe get their feedback and see what they think about the app and how it can be used. So.
Well, it'd be interesting to, having heard some of the Australian politics. That would be interesting. But even more so, of course, would be what happens when you roll it out in Texas.
Yes.
I'd very much like to see that kind of response. I'm going to be going to a protest in Kentucky of the Noah's Ark theme park. There's another good place to release that app.
Yes.
So before we close up, what is is there anything else that I can ask about this without actually being able to see it in my hand? What else can you tell me without that visual aid to inspire me to look it over?
So basically, the app is one aspect of what we would like to accomplish. It's the tool of getting us to be able to have conversations without them devolving into shouting matches. So it translates into the real world in that we would like people to actually apply these tools these techniques that they're learning. And one thing that one person who is actually using the techniques in the app is Anthony Magnabosco, who makes street epistemology videos where he has 5-minute conversations with believers and asks them exactly the questions that are in the app. Like, how did you arrive at this belief? And how would you, think about this belief if you knew that someone else of a different religion had, felt just as strongly as you do about your own? So one example or one thing to look at would be the Anthony Magnabosco YouTube videos that basically show the techniques in action.
Yeah, I've seen a number of those videos. He has more eloquence than I do. When somebody tells me that they hold this belief because Christianity is the oldest religion rather than some new cult like Hinduism, because that's what they said in one of those videos. I wouldn't be able to help myself from correcting that person, who says something like that. And I'm surprised that he doesn't. It's to his benefit, I guess, that he doesn't, but maybe I need training in that too, because it would devolve for me very quickly. When you have people communicating with each other through this app, are we talking about like its own social network?
It's basically a social network within the app. So you can comment on things, people can respond to those comments.
Now, how do you control when you're communicating and responding back and forth? I mean, what is the control that stops it from devolving there?
We have moderators.
Yeah.
That look through the comments.
We have a handful at this point, but it's because it's such a small release. We hope to engage more people on the team once we have more of a demand for it.
Oh, that's interesting. What is this software run?
The software? Of the moderators or of the
what is the app cost?
It's the first level's free, and then if you wanted levels 2 through 10, it's only $4.99.
2 through 10. Okay. Well, having no idea about the product and not being able to look it over, I'm perplexed as to what else I could even ask about this thing. I guess unless there's something else you can put in, I guess we'll have to close it up there. What else would you like to add before we go?
We can get you access to the app if you wanted to look at it in the future. We can get you on the alpha team.
On the alpha team?
Yeah.
We can always use feedback.
Any kind of feedback you have for us would be wildly beneficial.
Yeah.
So we can make sure that you get a link to it.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to add that really what this app does is it gives people the gift of doubt, because we're all so dogmatic about our beliefs, and or it's easy to be dogmatic, and it's hard to consider other beliefs, you know, when you're just presented with facts. People don't usually change their minds when they're presented with facts. They actually become more strongly entrenched in their beliefs that they already held. So I think that this app is a way for people to learn how to help people create these spaces of openness and how to doubt what they believe.
Yeah, I've noticed that when you just tell somebody something, it doesn't matter what you say. You know, there's always like 2 excuses that people can use to dismiss whatever it was you said. They can say, that doesn't prove anything, and that's how God did it. And those 2 excuses will allow you to dismiss whatever was said without even knowing what was said. You just have to know that the sentence ended, and which of the 2 excuses do you need? So what I figured out is I need to ask people to engage them. I have to ask them questions so that they produce their own answers and therefore can't contradict, you know, ideally their own answers, or at least they'll know if they are.
Right.
I get a lot of resistance even there when they're asking a question and they know that I'm anchoring the goalposts down so they can't be moved. Then they start getting sketchy.
Yes.
So I'm wondering how people will react to the app when they already behave this way.
Yeah.
There are even levels within the app that cover the whole "it's true for me" sort of pitfall that we'll find ourselves in sometimes. So I don't know. I feel like the take home of the conversation for the app is that it's beneficial. It doesn't hurt. It takes 5 minutes just to like do one quiz to work on your own abilities to have conversations with people. It can't hurt to try to have better conversations, especially since there are serious consequences to people holding faulty epistemologies. Like, faith healing kills people. It can't just be true for you if people are harmed by this.
Okay, gotcha. So any links that are related to this app, of course, will be in the description, including if any should come up that have, as I said, you know, a video tutorial or something like that. If one of those is ever produced and it's not already on the website, I'll be happy to include that here.
Awesome.
And otherwise, if there was anything else you wanted to say in closing? Nope. Okay. As they glance at each other and shrug, I don't know. All right. Well, Christine, Sarah, thank you very much for being on. My pleasure having you. And good night.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure. Good night.